All right. So is there any other questions from the chapter 1 or chapter 2? Yeah. 40? 2.1. This is find FA plus H and that thing. A real quick word about this thing. You'll see this every now and again in chapter 1. You'll see it pop up again at least once in chapter 2. We'll see it today. Something like this. This is very simple, believe it or not. This is something you guys learn in algebra that some people hate. But what are the F's? What do they take the place of? Yeah, the Y's, right? And what would the X's be for each of these? So what's the input for this guy? A. So that's the point A, F of A. That's the point A plus H, F of A plus H. Second?
How are we going to figure out the H?
Don't worry, you don't have to. H is just H. Yeah. How would you find the slope between these two? Yeah, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What's a plus h minus a? H. What's this minus this? This. Careful now. The f's can't go away. You guys sound with me? This is just the slope between those 2 points. So that's if I graph this function and I look at this point and graph a line between those two, this would just give me the slope of that line. And this is actually kind of like step 1 in calculus. What calculus does is it tries to say, here's the slope of not just a straight line, but the slope of a curve. Kind of with me. What sucks about the slope of a curve? Straight line is easy. If I know the slope here is 7, slope's here 7, slope, the whole damn thing is 7. Right? So I just need somebody to tell me it's 7. If I have a curve, what the hell's happening to the slope? It's changing. So the slope itself is a function, right? Depending on where I look. So if I look at a parabola, the slope here is 0. The slope here is negative, and the slope here is positive. So the slope itself becomes a function also. Depending on where you look, the slope will change. That's the big thing about calculus. This is not calculus, so we're not going to get into that yet. But that's what this has to do with it. It's trying to get you ready for this. So what I would do for this problem is do each of these separate. What's f of a going to be? And what's f of a plus h? Yeah, be careful about that, right? Whenever you put it in, you got to put parentheses around it so you don't lose something. 2 times a plus h over a plus h minus 1. Sweet. And then I just got to plug those bad boys in there. What should happen is the h should eventually cancel somewhere. So I've been talking for way too long. You guys go ahead and finish that problem up. Bless you. Just plug each of these in here and then figure out what to do from there. Try to get those together. Oh, yeah. knowing it's left. Because it's the lower x. So it's really weird for students who do this. That's why I like the other one that says left, is because lower and you're going up, people get confused, but of course that's x is small. You enter for the, it's just really the left side. Upper bound means on the right side. So now the x is bigger. See, then it opens up these little arrows. It doesn't even ask the last question because it's an A. But there's the answer. Then you can find it. So it just asks you 2 questions. But would you get the intersection? So then the intersections are intersection 5. I probably it's going to ask 2 questions. Well, now it needs some help. Here's a little difference. It's going to ask the lower bound again. So that one has 4 questions. So your 0 has 2 questions.
So for the intersection, it asks for the left and the right bound of the graph, left and right bound.
Just the left and right bound of the x answer.
Okay.
So that's the x answer. For the left bound, for the lower bound, I have to move down a little bit. Now the cursor moved up because the y alphas are getting bigger, but I got to think about it. The x lower bound, make the x lower and then make the x bigger for the upper bound. But confined to that specific intersection.
Okay.
Okay. So if you put these in, now this is the kind of problem that it might take a few more steps, but you should just be able to eat this thing up. You should just be able to attack this thing. You know what you have to do. What do you have to do?
LCD.
Yeah, LCD. So these have nothing in common. So he needs this entire dude, and he needs that entire dude. So you got 2a plus 2h times a minus 1 over a plus h minus 1 times a minus 1. So far, so good?
Yeah.
So I'm giving this guy what he's missing minus this guy times what he's missing. Got it. And of course, it's all over H. So now, thank God, a couple of steps and a lot of things kind of cancel out, right? Oh, yeah. Purple does not want to go. So if we multiply that out, we'll get 2a squared plus 2ha minus 2a minus 2h minus 2a squared minus 2ah plus 2a. All over. Now let me see if you guys are cool with this next step. Yes, ma'am.
Wait, what's the relationship between those 2 items?
Oh, this one and that one?
Yeah. What's the relationship?
So here I'm just subtracting these. So I need to get LCD. So multiply him by a minus 1 and him by a plus h minus 1. So now they're like denominators. And of course, division by h is multiplication by 1 over h, so I can just put the h down there with everything else. All right?
Sure.
1/2 divided by 3 is 1/6. You can just make that 1 over 2 times 3. All right, it's not breaking any rules because division by 3 is multiplication by a third, which will put a 3 on the bottom. Division by h is multiplication by 1 over h. The h just goes on the bottom. Okay, you guys like, sure, Jeff, whatever you say. So here I'm saying I could rewrite this as times 1 over h. There you go, now it's on the bottom. So then what happens here? We get 2a squares go away. 2ha goes away. The 2a's go away.
Wow.
That kicks ass. And now finally, like I said, the h goes away. Sweet. How are we doing? Is that all right? I want you to remember this moment. Anybody going into calculus? Somehow, I like that. I didn't ask you. You guys just remember this because you're going to see exactly this, and then you're going to learn shortcuts for this. This is calculus, basically. The next step would involve something I don't want to get into right now, but it's doing something with that h. You'll see when you get there. But this is basically most of the first part of calculus already. Okay. So what do we care about that? Not much. We're done with that right there for this class. All right. Anything else from 74?
Yeah.
The one with the eyeball? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Section 2.1 or is it?
2.1.
Yeah, okay. All right, so when the brightness. So we got this here? You got it? Oh, you need that? Okay. So this is page 151. The green-eyed person staring at you. $74, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
74. So this relates the brightness x of a light source. So x is the brightness, and r is the radius of the pupil.
In millimeters.
So we all know about flashing a light in somebody's eyes to see if they're alive. So you put the light, the pupil should go down because, oh, too much light. So what this does is, if you put in there an x value that represents the brightness. So if we put in 0, that means it's damn dark. That should be sort of the largest radius.
How can you do this one? I mean, it's from 42 to 75, each third one.
Well, if you want to.
It's 35%.
So whoever asked that question, is this the right one, right? The one with the... Yes, okay, good. You can ask whatever you want to out of the book. R is in millimeters, X is in brightness. And so part A just wants to find what's R of 1, R of 10, R of 100, I think. So now for part A, what would you do? Yeah, just plug in 1. Just make sure you put in the calculator correctly. And the calculator you would want to do square root of parenthesis 13 plus 7x, I guess 1. And then you'd actually have to have double parentheses so it knows what the bottom is. Obviously, you should not need the to the 0.4 power. 1 to any power is 1. But that's how you want to plug it in. So it needs to know what's in the square root. It needs to know what the top is and what the bottom is. So sometimes problems here would be just not knowing how to put it in the calculator.
I didn't know I was supposed to put it in my calculator, that's
Oh.
all.
Yes. It doesn't matter. For R of 1, it should be easy enough. 13 plus 7 is 20. Over 1 plus 4 is 5. Square root of 4 is 2. So that one's not too bad.
I was just confused by the 0.4 exponents.
That's what it was.
Oh, so now if you want to do 10, when you get to this part here, you would do 10 to the 0.4. I don't even need that. Right, 10 to the 0.4? Cool. Okay. So part A is just plug and chug. And then part B is make a table of values. So you just put together what you found. Cool. 75 is